What's going, everybody? It's John with Bull-Throttle Trading. Alright, today I wanted to make a video, and this is for a lot of you guys who are starting to trade for the first time. This is how to scan for stocks to swing trade. Alright, so this is extremely important as a beginner because this is how you can start to grow your account, right? I know a lot of you guys don't have the time to sit there and day trade, and that's very understandable. And that's why, I feel that most people who play with the stock market are swing traders, and there's nothing wrong with that at all. So this video is going to be a way to show you guys how to scan for stocks that have a very good swing trade potential. So this way that you can kind of help, if you have a smaller amount of cash in your account, or you're under the PDT rule, this is a really, really good way to build up that capital, right? So let's say you're trying to get over that $25,000 mark to be above the PDT rule. These are good ways that will help you see where you could put your money, right? So, and I wanted to show you guys how to do this. Now, I'm doing this again through the Thinkorswim platform. So they have their own built-in stock scanner. I know that there's plenty of other apps that you could download for free, and websites that you can use that do the same thing. I'm just not 100% familiar with all of those ones or their user interface because I don't use them. As I said, I use TD Ameritrade's Thinkorswim platform, so this is what I know. But if you don't use this platform, that's okay. Like I said, if you find a stock scanning app that you download or a website that you use, it's going to be pretty much the same kind of thing. You're going to basically be searching based on what certain indicators are doing, and seeing if a stock has potential to bring you a margin, and being able to calculate what kind of margin that stock will bring you. So as I go through all these and explain to you how to scan, then I'll kind of go into a little more further detail as well about knowing when to actually buy in, how to set up your alerts, and pay attention to those kind of things, okay? So if you guys are ready, let's jump on in. Alright, so again, I'm using the Thinkorswim platform. And the first thing we want to do is up here on the top, there's a tab for scan. So we're going to click on this scan, and it's going to open up this window, right? And this is going to be how we set up our scans. So I'm going to go through and show you how I do this. So you guys, as I'm doing this, you might want to write this down so you have it. But I also want you guys to kind of try to actively know what it is that you're searching for and be able to see this, right? So the first thing we're going to do is, alright, so you can see we have three of these filters here under stock. So the first one, we're going to go in and we're going to change this to last. Okay, and this means last price, and we want to do a minimum of $5, and we'll do a maximum of $100. Okay, so that means that we're going to scan for stocks that are between $5 and $100. Now, if you want to change this, maybe you don't want to go all the way up to $100. Maybe you want to do, $5 to $50. This all depends on what you're looking for. But just know that this first one, your last price is between $5 and $100 is what I have here. If you want to change that again to meet your specific needs, then do that. Again, I don't want you to just copy what I'm doing. I want you to do this so that it fits for your needs, right? Okay, and then the second one is volume, and let's start with a volume of at least 100,000. So this is your volume. Is basically it's giving you an idea of how many people are trading a stock, right? So typically stocks that have a higher volume, they move around more, so they give you more opportunity to make some money, and they're typically safer stocks. Like you usually see the lower cap and penny stocks with the small volume. Here's what you got to think of. Okay, so the volume is counting the amount of people who are trading on a stock. So if you have a low volume and let's say you go to sell your position, it may take a while for that trade to go through. So while you're waiting for that trade to go through, you know, the price of that stock could be dropping and you may not be able to lock in your profit. So the higher the volume is, the easier it is to buy and sell the stock. So we want to focus on stocks that have a pretty high volume. Depending on how many results we get, we might make this a little bit smaller, but for now I'm just going to start there. All right, this third stock I'm not going to use. I'm going to delete it. All right, and then we're going to add another filter here, and this is going to be a study filter. So we're going to go to study, okay? And what we're going to put this on is we're going to go to price change. So, whoops. Let me see here. So yeah, we're going to go down to where it says price performance, and then scroll over to price change, okay? So what this is going to do is it's going to show us that a stock is moving, right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to do from open. So this is telling us that these are changes that had happened since the market opened, and we want to bring this up. I'm just going to type it in. We want to bring this up to 5%. Less than 20 bars ago. Okay, so now what this is saying is if the price changed at least 5% or, 5% less than where it was 20 bars ago. This is telling us that, okay, 20 bars ago, we are now 5% down, which means that it had a nice drop, right? And then the last filter that I'm going to add is another study. And this is going to be based on RSI. So let me see. I believe this is going to be under, yeah, so under popular studies, RSI scan, okay? And then it says the RSI with a length of 14. And we're not going to change that because we didn't change our RSI indicator when we set that up, right? So we're going to leave that alone. We're going to leave Wilders, and then we're going to put this on less than, and then we want the RSI to be less than 50, okay? So this means that it's on the oversold side, right? So this is giving us something that, you know what I mean, we can see happening that would be on the oversold side, meaning that, okay, now this stock is going down and it's no longer overvalued, right? It's undervalued. We want to buy something when it has a good value. Okay, so this is how we're going to set this up. Now the other thing we're going to change here on the price change, okay, so we have open 5% less than 20 bars ago. All right, we want to change this from the day. We want to go to the 30-minute, okay? And then we're going to hit scan. Okay, so we got a lot of options here. Now I'm going to organize these by volume with the highest volume up top, right? So this way we can see which ones are going to be the best. So we might actually, here, let's turn this up to, let's do 750,000. Okay, so this way we can kind of scan these down a little bit and not have so many results. Alright, so here we go. So this is what we have on our scan. Alright, and then like I said, we want to focus on the stocks first that have the highest volume. So this way our orders get filled pretty quick. So let's start with this first one here, Bank of America Corporation, okay? So if we go to our chart, we can see our symbol is BAC. So we go to our charts, and we're going to type in BAC, and then we're going to open this on the 180-day chart, right? So now we're looking at this 180-day chart. Now we could see that we had this big drop, right? So So there was an earnings statement that came out, and then we dropped. Now let's zoom in on this a little bit, and I'm going to show you why here in a second. All right, so we experienced this drop, and we established this support down here at about $24, right? And as you can see, we pushed up, and now we're kind of floating around. Now, one of the things that I want you guys to pay attention to when you swing trade is we want to be looking at, you know, what is happening every day, but understand that there's going to be days where it's going to be a red day. So we could see so far this morning it's been in the red, and that doesn't necessarily mean that it's bad. We just want to pay attention and see if we drop below our support level here, right? So I'm not saying that I would necessarily want to buy into this just yet. However, we can tell by looking at it here. Let me get my drawing tool. So by looking at it, we're trading right now at about $24.48, right? And we could see that up to our last resistance point, we have a potential margin for about almost 22%. We have 21.6% margin, right? And our potential for loss, or our support here where we would get out, is about 2%. So this is something that we want to pay attention to. Our reward is much greater than our loss, right? So if we were to take a position in this, right, and this is something that we decided that we would want to swing trade on, then what we would probably do, and I'll show you how to do this. So we could open our active trader here. All right, and I'm going to move this over a little bit. All right, so with our active trader open, and this changed it. So we're going to go back to the 180 days and zoom back in here. Okay, so we know that we would no longer be interested in holding this if we got to below $24, right? So we have a potential for loss. So we can go ahead and put an order in using our active trader, and we could buy at market, or let's say maybe we want to set a limit order to buy closer to 24, so that if this keeps going down, like maybe we want to buy it here, right? At that moment, once we have our order filled and we're now holding however many shares of the stock that we want to hold, right? Now we want to use our OCO brackets, right? So we can set our stop loss at, I would go a little below $24, maybe at like $23.93, $23.95, just in case if we hit $24, we don't necessarily want to exit our position yet, right? If we go below $24, then we no longer see a value in this, right? It's now a change of direction, and we don't want to hold it. So we'd buy in, we could set our stop loss a little bit below $24. And then we could set our limit order, so we know like right here around 29 is a good resistance. So maybe we want to go a little bit below 29, right? So let's say like maybe 28.70. This way we know that we'll get filled, okay? And then we can set that, and we can expect, given on the last time we were down here, right? So this was around here. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days until we came up to here. So this is something that we would probably be interested in holding for about a week. Maybe it'll take 10 days, maybe it'll take 8 days, maybe it'll take 3 days, right? But we kind of have an idea of how long we would be having our money tied up in this stock. Does that make sense to everybody? I want you guys to understand that, because depending on what a market does, you know, if you're holding something in this stock, that's money that you cannot invest in other stocks, right? So we want to pay attention to that. We want to make sure that, okay, we can expect that roughly about 5 days, whatever amount of money that we put into Bank of America, that's how long roughly we're planning on holding it, and we want to get around this area. Now, if it's going up there and we're on day 6 and it's like, you know, right here around $27, then maybe we'll hold it out a little bit longer. That's up to you if you want to do that, and you'll be able to see that better as time goes on. So you're going to be making decisions based on what's happening at that current day. You know what I mean? Like, you might have this start coming up and then find another opportunity somewhere else that offers a higher margin, and maybe you want to take your money out of this and lock in your profits at wherever you're at. And that's totally fine to do. Again, that all depends on your style of trading, and I'm not here to tell you what style you should have. That's going to be stuff that you will figure out as you get better at this, right? So I want you guys to be made aware of that. Okay. So now looking at this chart, right? We can see our RSI is below 50. We're down here around 35. Our MACD is picking back up, right? So our chart, our indicators are showing us what we want to see, right? We have potential for this climb to get back up in the green, and that's what we want to pay attention to. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. Remember, our indicators are not for making decisions. They're just to help us see what's going on. So we don't want to make decisions based on indicators alone. So again, now this is, you guys hear me talk about having a plan, right? So we know what our plan is. Our plan is we want to buy close to this $24, right? So even if we took a position now, we're at $24.50. All right, we take a position and we know that if we break below $24, that's our potential for loss, okay? But we also know that if we come up here, that maybe around like 28.70 would be a good exit strategy. Again, we want to be a little bit below this resistance point because it might not make it to that resistance point again, or you might get to that resistance point and everybody else recognizes that that's a resistance point and your order may not get filled. So again, we want to make sure not just that we have an idea of where we want to sell, but we want to make sure that we make decisions where our orders are get filled, right? If your order doesn't get filled, then you're not going to lock in your profit. So it's very important to pay attention to that. So let's say we took a position here. We're at $24.50. We bought in. All right, we set our OCO brackets at $23.95 and at $28.70. So we know, okay, we're going to hold this. We're expecting that it could take about 5 days, maybe a little more, maybe a little less, but we have an idea of how long we're going to hold this, and we're going to expect to see about a 20% increase, right? So if we bought in here and we decide to sell at like $28.70, we're looking at about a 17% return, right? Which is a great return. And depending on how much money you put in there, it could be a great dollar amount as well. So this is how we're going to use these scanners to try to find these swing opportunities, right? Now we could see here, looking at this again, because we want to use our indicators, our SMA line here is in an upward pattern, and that's a good thing. We want to pay attention to that. If this was in a downward pattern and we were getting, see how we're getting these higher lows and these higher highs? If this was reversed, then we wouldn't want to put our money into this, right? Does that make sense to everybody? We want to trade on things where the trend is our friend. So even though it's not a very steep line, it's moving upward. And if we look again, if we zoom out, so we have this drop from COVID-19, and since this drop, Bank of America has been getting these higher lows and higher highs, right? So we can see that we now have this uptrend happening, and that's what we want to see. So this is a perfect example of a swing trade that we can find. And we have, again, we have our entry point, we have our stop loss point, and we have our exit point. So this is, again, when we talk about having these plans, when you take a position, you know I'm either going to sell at this stop loss or I'm going to sell at this limit order, and this is going to be, you know, what I've identified as these supports and resistances, right? And if we break that trend, then we no longer want to hold this stock because it no longer is giving us any value. All right, let's go back and do one more here. So if we go back to the scan, and one of the things that I want to point out to you guys too is, okay, once you set up this scan, right, and you have everything here, you can save this so you don't have to set this up every time. And how you're going to do that, okay, so right here on this bar, you're going to go all the way over. See where it says setup scan? We're going to go all the way over to the right to this little hamburger. We're going to click it down and we're going to go save scan. And then you can name this whatever you want. So let's call this swing trade. So this is our swing trade scan. So then you can save it. So now every time you come in here and you want to scan for a swing trade, it's going to remember this. And when you're here, if it's not loaded, then you can click here and go load scan, and then you'll see it in here, right? So if we go load scan query, personal swing trade, boom, there it is. So everything is all set up. It's all good to go, and then we'll just hit the scan button. All right. Now again, I like to put it with the highest volume first. Again, just they're typically safer stocks. You know that you'll be able to fill your orders. So, I want to anticipate you guys, if you scan like this, to do the same, and you want to pay attention to these higher volume stocks first. All right, so let's look at Cisco here, CSCO. So we're going to go back to our charts, and then we're going to do CSCO, and we're going to look at this. All right, and again, I'm looking at the 180-day chart. We want to look at a little more zoomed out so that we can see what's happening. All right, now this here looks like a great opportunity for a swing trade. So again, our RSI, we're at about 40 right now. Our MACD is starting to turn around, right? And we have this nice upward SMA line. We're getting these higher highs, and these higher lows. So we had a big dip here, right? So let's zoom in on this a little bit. Let's see, let's dial in on what's happening, right? So we came down, and you can see we established this support here at about $43.93. Okay, and now we're starting to move up, and we could see today has been a very green day. So we've started to move in to our potential for margin, right? So this one is one that we'd want to, if we decide to take a swing trade in this, right, and we want to set up our stop loss, we want to make sure that we manage our risk. So let's look at where it's trading now. It's about $45.25. And we have this potential to come back up here, right? So we have this resistance at about $48.15, and that's offering us about a 6.5% margin for return. And we're already moving very quickly, so we know this wouldn't be a very long swing trade. This might be like a, maybe 1 or 2 night, but we have to manage our risk, right? So if we look at our potential for loss here, going back to this previous support, we're at about 3%. So this isn't really a good ratio. So we want to set our stop loss somewhere where we're comfortable with how much we could potentially lose, right? So let's say maybe we take a position here, and with it being bullish, we set our stop loss at like maybe $45, right? So if we break below $45, we're going to exit this position. We're going to minimize our loss, right, which is what we want to do. As traders, we need to focus on minimizing our loss. So maybe we'll go like a little bit below $45, $44.95, $44.97, something like that, so that if it starts to go below that, okay, we're going to sell our position because we're having this break of trend. However, with how bullish this is right now, we still have this potential for 6% margin, and possibly more if it continues. Based on how it's been trading with these higher highs, we can expect that, okay, once we get above this, it may continue to keep going. And that's something that you're going to have to make that call at that moment. So if you take a position here, know that, we might want to lock in some profits here. And there's nothing wrong with that. If it continues to push up, then you can re-enter and follow it, right? And again, that's entirely up to you guys. We don't want to be greedy. We want to be humble traders. So we know we have a potential for 6%. Now maybe when you scan for these different swing trades, maybe you don't want to focus on any that, maybe unless it's offering at least 10%, right? And that, again, that's up to your style of trading, however you want to do it. But again, I want you guys to be able to see this. Like, I know a lot of you guys are under the PDT rule, and how am I going to grow my account? These are the kind of trades that you want to be taking, so that you can see, okay, like I have this potential for margin, the trend is in my favor, right? And we've now established a good buy-in point. Maybe you're not ready to get into this one yet, and maybe you want to see if it drops back down around this this support level around $43.90, right? Now again, if it pulls back down to there, we want to pay attention and make sure that it's not indicating that it's going to keep dropping, because it absolutely can do that. Patterns tend to repeat themselves, but they don't have to, right? So again, I just want you guys to pay attention to that. But looking at this, we can see most times when it gets close to this SMA line, it bounces back up. We've dropped below this SMA line a little bit. And again, it's not going to be a perfect pattern. But as you can see, it's very bullish today. And it's pushing up. So we're moving up. This is all good signs, right? So again, these are things that you guys want to pay attention to and know. Again, you can see roughly how long you're going to need to hold the stock. So this is going to tell you how long, whatever that dollar amount is that you're putting in here, roughly that it's going to be tied up. So you could make your own decisions on, other swing trades, or maybe this one doesn't offer enough potential margin for me. So, maybe I'll try to find, try to find something else. All right, so let's go back to the scan again. And we'll do one more here. So we have Comcast. So we have CMCSA. So we'll go back to our charts and do CMCSA. All right, so here we have Comcast. And again, I'm still on the 180-day chart. I'm still a little zoomed in, so let's zoom out. Oops. All right. So again, we could see our SMA line is going up. Our RSI is below 50. And if you want to change this in your scanner too, you could put your RSI below 40 so that, you're catching it. If your RSI is close to 50, again, you're probably going to be eating in your margins like we just saw on the last one. So maybe, you might want to change that in your scan, and we can do your RSI scan. We have less than 50. Like here, let's do that now. Let's make it less than 40. And this will kind of help see. So now we have a lot less options, right? So, well, let me go back to Comcast real quick. So let's look at this one. So if we go to Comcast, all right, so we can see our RSI is at 34, right? Our MACD is starting to come back up. Our SMA line is in an upward fashion. Now we could see here, now looking at this, this is a previous support, right? We bounced on this once already at about $38.80. So we bounced on it, and we're starting to come back up. You can see we're still a little bearish on the day, but we're moving up, and we have a nice potential for margin here. So looking at this, our potential margin is about 8.75%. And our potential for loss is about 1.5%. So this is what I mean when I'm saying when the RSI is lower like this, you're closer to that level of support. So your stop loss going in isn't as much of a risk, right? It's keeping your potential for loss minimal. And that's what we want, right? So again, this could be a good buy-in for a swing trade. And we know, okay, if we break below this $38.80, we see a break in trend. We no longer want to hold the stock, so we'll have our stop loss go up. And then we're a little bit above 43 bucks here. We're about $43.20. So maybe we want to set our limit order at $43. So when we hit $43, okay, we're going to lock in that, what did I say it was? About 8% margin, right? So again, this is how, if we're under the PDT rule, and you don't, you're starting out and you don't know, oh, what should I invest in? I understand that there's plenty of these Facebook groups and the news and all this stock about, oh, look at this stock, look at that stock. We don't want to buy stocks that people are telling us to buy, right? Never put your money in something that you don't personally see value in. So by scanning for these stocks, we're seeing that value, right? I hope everybody understands what I'm talking about. Like we saw this 8% potential for margin and a 1% potential for loss. So to me, that seems like a good opportunity, right? We want to pay attention. Is our SMA line moving upward? Yes, it is, right? The EMA line here, we can see we're below the EMA line. But that's not necessarily a bad thing. Again, we're managing our risk. We're trading with the trend. We have this upward trend. So this is why it's important to do this. And by scanning for these stocks, this is going to help give you every day, as a trader, as an investor, whatever it is, every day we need to challenge ourselves. So this is you 100% not relying on anybody. You now know how to scan for these stocks and see these opportunities and this potential, right? And you know you have a plan set. You know, if I buy here, this is where I'm going to stop loss. This is where I'm going to put my limit order in. You know roughly how long it's going to take. You're doing everything that you need to have this plan, and now all you have to do is stick to your plan. And you can calculate, you know, let's say you have $100 to throw into this. You can calculate how much money that you're going to make. And I'll show you how to do this here. Let me get my calculator up. And I'll show you guys how to do this. And this is, again, I don't want you guys to get stuck on a dollar amount. I want you guys to pay more attention to the opportunity, right? As beginners, you want to trade to learn, not to make money. However, I know we're all here to make money, right? So let's say you have $200 and you want to buy in here at $39.49. So you're going to take your $200 and you're going to divide it by that price. So what do we say? $39.52. So $39.52. So this means we could buy 5 shares, right? So if we buy 5 shares, now we're going to do this backwards. So we're going to do 5 shares times $39, and what are we at now? 51 cents. We'll just do 50 cents just to make the math easy. There it is, 50 cents. Okay, boom. So we buy in there. We have $197.50 invested. Okay, so remember that number, $197.50. I'm going to add that to the memory here. Did that do it? Okay, so $197.50. Now we know we have 5 shares. So if we have 5 shares and we're planning on selling it at $43, so we'll take 5 times $43. All right, now we have $215, and we'll minus that by the 197.5. Whoops, 0.5. So we now profited $17.50 on this. Now again, if you're somebody who you have $200 to invest with and you're trying to grow your account, I understand $17.50 is not a big old, a big ordeal, right? So it may not be something that you want to tie up your $200 in. However, understand that the lower cap stocks offer more risk. All right, so let's look at something like that here. Let's go back to our scan and let's do our max dollar amount at $20 and our minimum dollar amount at $1, okay? And then let's scan for this and see what we got. Okay, so we have it again by our volume. Okay, now Luke and Coffee here, LK. Let's start with this one. So we pull up LK. We're on the 180-day chart. So we can see there was a large drop here, right? And I'm not sure what ended up happening here. This was in April, it looks like. So this probably was, it could have been Corona related, COVID related, I'm not sure. But we could see we're under 50 on the RSI. This isn't one that I'd want to put my money in. Our potential for margin is not very high. And this is what you run into a lot with these lower cap stocks. So I want you guys to be aware of that. So this is not looking like a good one at all. So let's go back here. $120. Okay, good. Scan. All right. All right, so let's look at this next one. AMRN. AMRN. Okay, so on the 180-day chart, we can see our SMA line is it's pretty flat right now, right? It's plateaued. It's maybe going up a little bit, but again, our potential for loss here is about 68%, and our potential for margin is about 54%. Did I do that right? Yeah, so this is about a 50-50 shot. This isn't really something that we would necessarily want to get involved in, right? So I want to bring this to your guys' attention that, these lower cap stocks, yeah, you can get lucky. A lot of them, like I said, are these pump and dumps, but I just wanted you guys to be aware of this. It's difficult to make money on these, especially swing trading. It's very easy to lose money on these. So I typically wouldn't go for, you know, these stocks that would be less than $5. If you want to, if you know, you may see value in that. That's again entirely up to you. I'm not going to tell you what to do with your own money. For me, I just don't see the value in it. It's too risky. Let's look at one more. VSTM. Go back to VSTM. See, so are you guys seeing this pattern here, right? So on the 6-month chart, April, we had a big drop. We could see we had an earnings statement here that was negative, which isn't really great. So now before this, obviously, there was a nice push. I don't know anything about this company. We could look at their news. I'm guessing that they had some kind of hype or whatever during COVID that pushed them up, and then it dropped. And in my own personal experience, I'm going to tell you that this is probably going to sit like this for a long time. You know what I mean? So again, this wouldn't be something that I would see the interest in. So let's put this up to like $10. So we have $10 to, we'll do 50. All right. So again, I want you guys, play around with these scans, see what you can find, but this is a good way to get started. Here, let's do Williams here. WMB. Zoom out. Okay, so this one, we have a dip here. So this might be, looking at this previous support here, we're doing what I like to call the double bounce, right? So we established this support, and as you can see, we're hitting it again. So we can expect, now we don't want to, go gung-ho on this, but we can expect that, all right, we're hitting this previous support and we're going to start to bounce up, right? So we want to manage our risk with this. So again, we can see that we had a very big green candle in pre-market, and then since the market is open, we've been dropping, right? So we want to make sure that we, again, manage our risk. If we buy in here at $18.16, our potential for margin is about 16%, and our potential for loss is 2%. So this would be something that I would be interested in trading. And as you can see, it's a little bit lower than some of the other ones that we looked at $18.16, right? So let's say that you had $200 that you wanted to invest in this, okay? So let's do that again. So we'll take $200 and we're going to divide it by our price to figure out how many shares we can buy. So our price is $18.16. So we divide it by $18.16. Okay, now we could buy 11 shares of this, right? So now we're going to work backwards. We have 11 shares times $18.16. So we now have $199.76 invested, okay? Now with those 11 shares, we multiply it, it goes up to, what do we say, about, let's just call it $21.50 just to be safe. That would be where our limit order is. So $21.50. Okay, so now we have $236, and we're going to minus that by $199.76. All right, so now we have a potential of $36.74. And again, I know this doesn't seem like a big amount of money, but again, I want you guys to understand and learn to trade the opportunity, right? Like, this is a decent swing trade. This is something that I would be interested in entering. And again, this is something that by using our scanner, we didn't rely on anybody. We were able to evaluate this stock and decide, okay, this is something that offers a potential for 16% margin, and we want to take advantage of that, right? That's what you guys need to focus on right now. And as time goes on, maybe you save up money, and every paycheck that you get, you put some in your TD Ameritrade account and build your account. Or maybe, you do whatever to get, some capital. Like, let's take a look at this and imagine, like, all right, let's say we had $2,000. So we take $2,000 and we divide that by $18.16, okay? That means we could buy 110 shares. So let's do 110 shares times $18, $1,000,000.16. So we're at 1997.60, right? So let's take our 110 shares and we're going to multiply that by, what did we say? 2150. Okay, so now we take this and we're going to divide that by 1997.60, subtract it, sorry. Okay, so now we've just made $367.40. So do you see how having more money in there and making better decisions with it will grow your account, right? So let's say you start with $200 and you do these swing trades and you made 36 bucks or whatever it was what we said, and you start continuously growing your account, and then you get to the point where you have $1,000 and then you have $2,000. You're going to exponentially make more money the more money that you have to put in your position sizes. But as beginners, let's not focus on the dollar amount, right? Let's focus on the percentages. 16% is a great swing trade opportunity, right? And we can see, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So maybe this will take us another 5, maybe 7 days to get back up to where it was, right? And we know, okay, we have a potential, if we buy here, we have this potential for loss, and we know our risk before getting in. We have a plan set up, we know where we're going to buy, we know where we're going to sell, whether that be our stop loss or our limit order, right? So I hope that this all makes sense to you guys, and you can see that you don't need to read the news every day. You don't need to follow up on all of these Facebook accounts to know where to put your money. You have the power to do that yourself. And like I said, if you're on Robinhood or Webull, there are other apps that you can set up these different scans that you can do this exact same thing, right? And that's what we want to be able to do. We want to be able to find these stocks, be self-reliant, and this way we know what we're interested in investing in, and we know how much money we could potentially make, and we know how long roughly that we're going to have our money tied into the stock in order to reach that profit, right? So, and again, we're minimizing our loss, and that happens. Sometimes your stop loss goes through, and that's okay. We're just doing our best at when that stop loss goes through that our losses stay minimal, right? And let's say you take a swing trade and your stop loss goes through and you lose 1% and it ends up being, I don't know, $15. But you end up getting another one where, okay, now I made 70. Okay, well, now you're up $55 overall, right? So you're still growing your account. And that's the importance of setting up these different scanners. And like I said, you guys could play around. You saw I changed the prices and scanned and looked at these stocks. You can change the volumes. If you want to do these RSI below 40, below 50, that all depends on your guys' style. How and you're, as beginners, you may not know what your style is, but you're going to figure that out. And you have, you know how much money you have in your account, so you're able to kind of figure out where you want to, move and how you want to do this and how much risk you want to put into it, right? And that's, again, manage your risk. Keep those stop losses tight and look for that, potential. You want a 5-to-1 ratio, 5 profit, 1 loss, right? So try to keep that in your head when you're looking at these stocks that you're scanning and thinking of taking a position. And obviously, like I said, some of these offer higher percentages than others. If you saw that, you go into your drawing tools, and this line here, it's called trend line. If you do that, then you can click and drag it to where you want to see, and I could see, okay, that's a 19% profit, and my loss here would be 2%. So again, we're keeping that, focusing on the percentages. Let's not pay attention so much to the dollar amount right now. You're starting out, we want to pay attention to these different percentages, because that's what's going to matter. And as you have more money in your account and you grow your account, then that dollar amount will get bigger. You saw that, how we calculated that, right? So if you guys have any questions on this, or there's something you don't understand, please leave your questions in the comments and I'll answer these. But I wanted you guys to see how to do this and how important it is in becoming a trader, right? So
it's very, very important that you guys understand this, and I want to make sure, like I said, if you guys have questions, ask me, because again, I want you guys to be able to scan for your own stocks and invest in what you personally see value in. And then being able to have this plan. If you can't identify, okay, I want to buy here and I want to sell either here or have my stop loss here. If you have questions with that, ask me. That's why I'm here. That's why I do this. I want to help you guys all be successful. So with that, I'm going to end it here. I hope that you guys all have a good weekend and end it in the green. Please feel free to hit that like and subscribe button. Again, that helps me out in making more of these videos for you guys. And I will see you guys next time.